Manny Machado underwent surgery earlier today to repair the torn ligament in his right knee. A corresponding move, the 8,000th roster move by the Orioles this year. Wei-Yin Chen has been optioned to the Gulf Coast Orioles, and Steve Clevenger has been recalled from Triple-A Norfolk. Let's head out to Camden Yards right now. Roch Kubatko is joining us, not wearing his Dare No Day shirt. Very disappointed in this. That being said, let's get to some serious news. And Manny Machado, how did the surgery go? How's he doing?
Yes, this will be shocking. The surgery was a success, and I always joke about that because I have yet to cover a team where they've said the surgery was botched and that arm's or that leg's got to come off. Of course, it's a success. The doctors apparently didn't find anything unusual when they went in there to repair the slight tear in the right knee of a ligament. Buck Showalter said that Richie Bancels, the head athletic trainer, did talk to the doctor. Buck's not giving the doctor's name. He's not mentioning him by name. He just says the doctor said everything went really well. Exact same timetable where they think he'll be full go for the start of spring training, which is why he chose to have the surgery now. He's going to spend 3 weeks out in L.A. where the surgery took place today by the unnamed doctor. And he'll go ahead and start his rehab there, and then he will either go down to Sarasota to continue with Dave Walker, who oversees all the rehabs, or he could come back and join the Orioles here. Buck was kind of looking at the schedule and said there's an off day and then there's some home games. He may want to come back before going out, but either way, he's going to end up rehabbing in Sarasota instead of Miami, which is what he did last year, or I guess early this year, for the other knee surgery. So everything went well. Surgery went as they expected, no surprises, and again, fingers crossed, he should be full go for the start of spring training, and they think a normal spring training will really benefit him because he did not have that this past one and, ended up missing the first month of the season.
Roch, 4 or 5 days before call-ups, and maybe in a situation where Chris Davis is playing third base right now, if they go outside the organization in order to have somebody come up and be available for postseason roster, that guy has to be in the organization. Anything out there, are you hearing anything that it's possible the Orioles would make a deal and bring in a guy that could play third base, or are they going to stand pat?
Well, I mean, there's always that chance. I would never say that Dan Duquette's going to stand pat because he's always on the phone. They have talked to a variety of teams. There are a couple challenges. I mean, a player's got to pass through waivers before he can be dealt now. And also, and this came out, I've heard from multiple people that, the Orioles thought they had something pretty close to being done before news leaked of Manny's pending surgery. And teams all of a sudden sense, the Orioles are desperate, and they need to start wanting to ask for a little bit more than they were before. Makes it much more complicated to swing a deal. And the Orioles are desperate, but teams may have that perception, hey, they have to replace Manny, now he's done for the year, and might try and get more out of him. So they have not been able to make a deal. I'm sure they're still looking, but that said, they're happy with Chris Davis's defense at third. They're just also happy with it at first, and probably make things a little easier on him if he'd have to play third every day. But, they'll have reinforcements coming up September 1st. So there's always a chance before August 31st, before that deadline to set your playoff roster, that they could go ahead and make a deal. But, you also have to question, is there anybody out there who's better, who's an upgrade over what they have now? And I think for the most part, haven't really been able to find that. I heard that they checked in on Gordon Beckham before the White Sox traded him to the Angels. Angels only had to give up, I believe, a player to be named later or cash. So I don't think the Orioles had intense interest there. They did look into it. But right now, I think they're happy with the setup they have.
Hey, Roch, any sense, you mentioned September 1st, obviously is around the corner. Any sense of who they might call up?
Yeah, I mean, there are some that are given. Now, Steve Clevenger was going to be one of those guys because every team always adds the extra catcher, but he's here now, unless he gets sent back and then quickly returns. But he was going to be here. Ryan Webb, remember him? Pitched pretty well out of the bullpen. He's still at Norfolk, so he's going to come up. Otherwise, I would think Quentin Berry would be a guy. We've kind of forgot about him. Check what he's done, stolen bases in the majors, regular season, postseason, never been thrown out. They like his defense in the outfield. For a while, I thought they might go ahead and swap him out for David Loeb. They ended up keeping Loeb despite his offensive struggles because of other things he was able to bring to the table, defense and pinch running. So I think Barry's a guy they like to bring up to add some outfield depth because he is a guy that brings some speed. Otherwise, they're going to be an infielder, 2, 3. I mean, Buck doesn't want to load up the clubhouse with a bunch of guys and just have them standing around and bumping into each other and not playing. Keep in mind, Lexi Casilla. Now, he was a guy that I know that they considered before they ended up selecting Cord Phelps' contract, but Casilla was recovering from that hamate bone surgery and was still at Aberdeen, kind of getting back into the groove, so they ended up passing on him. He's in Norfolk now again. He's a guy they could consider. Steve Lombardozzi, I know that there's some questions about his defense, but he's a guy that could get consideration. Jimmy Paredes, they might like him as well as a guy, utility infield type, and of course Jamal Weeks is also there. So I would think at least one, maybe two out of that group as well could come up. And then we'll see Joe Saunders. Remember the experiment with him? They're converting him to kind of a lefty specialist in a bullpen. I think the report's been pretty good on him in Norfolk. He's a guy that also could come up. They got to find room on the 40-man roster for these guys, so keep that in mind. They've got an opening now, and they can go ahead and transfer, I guess, Manny to the 60 to create another spot. But everybody that comes up will have to then go on the 40-man roster, so you can't just invite everybody you want.
Well, a few hours ago, Roch, on your blog post, you said that Steve Clevenger had been added to the taxi squad. I really thought they'd go after a long snapper myself, but in the grand scheme of things, and it's been written that, well, Clevenger can do more than just catch, but does anybody really see a scenario where he plays the infield?
Not necessarily. There could always be late inning, ninth inning where he goes to first base. We have seen that happen before. I know he was a shortstop, I believe, in high school. I don't think there are any plans for him to back up J.J. Hardy. I think more than anything, it's an extra bat. And, they were short a position player. They had the three-man bench. Not a big deal when they were in Wrigley Field because you lose your DH, but now that you get him back, they just wanted another bat. And, it's one of those classic Oriole paper moves. I mean, they are so good at this. If another team does this, they should have to send a check for $20 to Dan Duquette because they are the masters of finding the little loopholes or maneuvering the roster. Deciding to send Chen to the Gulf Coast League because their season ends sooner than the other affiliates, very smart move because now he can make his start Sunday the 31st. If they'd sent him somewhere else, he would have had to wait till after September 1st. He'll go down to Sarasota, throw a bullpen session, spend a few days there, come back up. I wish somebody would make me that offer. So in the meantime, Clevenger gives him another bat. It's not necessarily, hey, we need a third catcher. They just wanted another position player, could come up, maybe pinch hit, left-handed bat, a little bit of pop. And then we'll see whether he stays the whole time or whether he has to go back, because I think they have to make a roster move Sunday then to get Chen back. But either way, it's just to get another position player on that roster, and they may do the same thing again tomorrow. Buck said, look, if there's a need, we could send out another starter. For example, Kevin Gausman starts tonight. Does he become a paper move for a couple of days? Stay tuned.
It's one of the most fascinating things that I find about the Orioles organization. Roch, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.